Let's take a look at this screw, and so let me turn off the other components, and I'm going to remove this chamfer off of the part, and then we'll put it back on. This is an imported component. Let's make that active. And so I imported this component, and then I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to delete this face right here, and then I'm going to put a thread on here. And so I will create a thread, and I'll select this edge, and I'll leave it as 7/16 of 14. I may not want to go that full length because the threading tool itself actually can't come up here against that face, and so rather than full length, I'll just come down here most of the distance, let's say 1.8. And then if I want this to be a modeled thread, now notice if I try to 3D print this, there is not a real thread on here. That's just a cosmetic bitmap representation of a thread. And so if I edit this feature, and I'm going to tell it to do a modeled thread, and so then we have the physical thread on here. To do the knurl is really complex though, so I think what I'm going to do is, I've done it in another CAD program, and actually I wanted to show one other thing. So let's go back to the cosmetic, and I'm going to put a chamfer on here. So I'm going to drag the timeline back before I put that thread on here, and I will then do a chamfer. And I'm trying to decide whether I want to do this before or after the thread. So let's go ahead and put the chamfer on here, and we'll say there's our chamfer, and then I'm going to change this back to a cosmetic. Now the problem is, the reason I did that, why this is in cosmetic, is I don't want that chamfer to try to go down all the way down the thread. I want it to stay out here on that edge, and the only way I can do that is do that while it's in cosmetic form. And then now if I change that back to modeled form, we see that that chamfer gives us a lead in on the modeled thread. We have modeled the thread in our assembly, and then I'll turn on the stationary handle, but I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. So I'll do the target body that I want to edit and the tool body that I want to use, and I'm going to set it on cut, and I'm not going to keep that tool body, so I'll say OK to that. And so now I have the thread in here. Now I may want to have that with a chamfer on here, and I meant to do that all within the adjustment screw active, so I'm going to undo that, and we'll do that or with the handle active. So I'll go to the stationary handle, I'll make it active, I'll temporarily turn off the adjustment screw, and I see that I have a small chamfer on here. I might want to increase the size of that chamfer. And since this was an imported component, I didn't show you how to model this within Fusion 360. I'll have to delete this face in order to get it in again, or I can do press pull and select that face, and I can press that to a greater distance, and then I'll turn on the visibility of the clamping screw. Again, my stationary handle is active. I'll turn on the adjustment screw, and then I'm going to do and I accidentally moved this. I didn't have it grounded. This part is grounded, so I can put some assembly constraints on here, and I may do that later on, but for now let's just ground this part. I will then do my combine. I want to cut. This is my tool body, and I'm not going to keep that tool body. I'll say OK to that, and so I've put my thread in here, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to insert my knurled fastener into here. I'll say OK to that, and I'll close my data panel. Alright, so now we need to create the rivets or pins that go through here to hold these parts together, and then we'll assemble everything the way it in the position where it should be located in the final assembly. So we're ready to model these components that hold everything together. So the next component I'm going to model is the roll pin that goes through here, and so I'll tell it to create a new component, and I'm going to call this roll pin, ROLL pin. I'll make sure that that is the active component, and then I'm going to start a new sketch. And before I do that, let's just turn off the visibility of all of the other components, and then I'm going to start a new sketch on the XY plane. I will draw a circle, and let's make this circle a diameter of 0.13, and then I'm going to draw a line up vertically or horizontally, and I'll draw another line from here to here and a line from here to here. I'm going to change this line, the horizontal line, to construction. I'll do symmetry, this line and this line symmetrical about the construction line. I will trim this piece out and trim this piece out, and then I'll do dimension from here to here at an angle of 3 degrees. And let's change these two lines to construction as well. So let me change that to construction, and I'll change this one to construction. Right. Then I'm going to extrude this as a surface body. So I'll go to my surfaces and I'll do extrude. And I'll select that circle, and I'm going to go distance, symmetrical, total distance of 0.635. And then I'm going to thicken this, so I'll go to thicken, I'll select that surface, and I want to go towards the inside, and I'm going to do a distance of negative 0.05 for that thickness. And so that completes my roll pin. So I'll save the assembly, and then I will go back to my front view and I'll hide this component. I'll create a new component, and I'll name this new component as link pin, and so I'll say OK to that. I'm going to go around to the right side view, and I will start a new sketch on the YZ plane, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle about like this above the origin, and then I'll do a midpoint from this line to the origin, and then I'm going to dimension the diametral dimension. So I'll select this line first, then I'll select this line, and I'll right click and I'll tell it diameter dimension, and I'll do that as 0.185, and then I'm going to do this length as 0.48. So to do a diametral dimension, we're going to end up revolving about this center line. You pick the line that you're going to use as your axis of revolution first, then pick the second line, right click, tell it a diameter dimension, and then I'm going to draw a line. I'll draw a line from here up to here, over to here, and then I want to do an arc coming out here, but I don't want it tangent, so I'll do a 3-point arc from here down to here, about like that, and then I'll draw a line from here over. I'm going to end up putting this horizontal, so make sure that you have a horizontal constraint on here so that it is fully defined. I'll then dimension again. I'm going to do that diameter again, so I'll select this line first, I'll select this line second, I'll right click, I'll tell it diametral dimension, and this one is 0.265. I'll do this distance as 0.25, and I meant to do that as 0.025. We'll go ahead and dimension this distance as 0.365, and I'll change this dimension to 0.025, 0.025, and then I'll dimension this distance from here to here as 0.05. Okay, then I'm going to revolve this portion in here. About this line is the axis. I'll make that sketch visible again, and then I'll do revolve again this portion about this axis, and then that last feature I want to mirror to the other side. So I can hide my sketch now, and then I will do a mirror, and so I'll select mirror, and I'm going to select feature. I'll select that last revolve feature, and then I'll do mirror plane. I'll select this plane, and so that mirrors that feature over onto the other side. I'll hide my origin. I'll change the appearance of this part, and let's make this a black chrome. And actually I was expecting it to turn that on the ends here, and I see what I did is I didn't join these ends, and so if I look at this, well, it is one body. I don't know why it didn't change the color of all of that. Let's change the appearance of that. And it is on body. Here we go. Alright, I'll save this one. We're going to use that same process to create a second pin, and so I'll make my top level active. I'll right click, I'll tell it to create a new component, and I'm going to call this one lock pin, and I will start a new sketch on the right side plane. Again, we'll draw our rectangle above the origin. We'll do a midpoint between this line and the origin. We'll do a dimension from here to here. Right click. We'll tell it diameter dimension. We'll do that at 0.185. And we'll do this distance as 0.415 this time. And I will draw a line over about like that, and I'll draw a second line over about like that. I'll dimension these two lines. This one is 0.025 and this one is 0.05. We'll do a 3-point arc from here to here. I want to make sure that this point is on this line, so I'll do coincident. This point is on this line. It turns black. It's all fully defined, and actually I have this as the wrong size, so I'm going to undo back to this line and we'll put this line in again. So I'll come up and over, and then we'll put our dimensions in here. So this one was 0.025, and the diametral dimension from here up to here then, so I'll right click, I'll tell it diameter. That was 0.265. We will do our 3-point arc from here to here. Make sure that this point is coincident with this line. Everything turns black. It's all fully defined. And then I will do my revolve this area about this axis. I'll make that sketch visible again. I'll do revolve again this area about this axis, and I will hide the sketch, mirror that to the other side. So I'll do mirror. And so we'll get to see modeling this part twice. We should have just copied the original and changed the dimensions. This one one is different dimensions though, so I need to select this second feature. I want to mirror this feature to the other side, and I'm going to hide the origin, and I want to change that body to black chrome. So I'll go to the appearance, put this chrome appearance onto this part, and we'll save that. And I'll turn everything back on. Now I have 3 of these components that I just put all in the same location, and right now we haven't put any joints in here to constrain anything. I'll turn on the rest of my components, and so one of these pins is going to go into an area either here or back here, and then the other pin and the roll pin is going to go into this hole, and this is going to go into that hole, and it will go up to here. I'm trying to find this particular origin that I still have visible, and I right click and I'll tell it to find in browser, and it shows me where it's at, and actually it's not visible here. So why is it showing the visibility? I'll have to find that. Well, this is the imported part, so I guess we have to go to, it's showing the origin not visible here, but I guess we have to edit this and turn off the origin back here, and then we'll click return to get back. So that turned it off. Alright, now I want to bring in the spring, and so I'll go and I'll insert the spring, and then we will place that spring in our assembly location here in the next few steps.